بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Assalamu alaikum. It is Monday, the 5th of September 2022. And in our series, Reflections on the Holy Quran, this is broadcast number 355. These days we are talking about the words of chapter 2, verse 104. And this is the third broadcast in that series. These broadcasts are brought to you by Laser, Lahore MDS School of Education in Religion, which is a branch of the Ahmadiyya Anjuman-e-Shahat Islam. The Ahmadiyya movement was created by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, Rahmatullah Alayh, whose teaching was that although people say that after the Holy Prophet Muhammad, another prophet can come, this cannot be correct because the Holy Prophet was called Khatamun Nabiyyin in the Holy Quran, and the Holy Prophet himself said that this means La Nabiya Badi, there is no prophet after him. And this worried his companions, and they asked him what will happen to Muslims when they go astray, like Ummah's nations of other prophets had done. And the Holy Prophet said that God will raise mujaddideen, who will guide Muslims. And Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Rahmatullah Alayhi's claim was that he was one of the mujaddids in the series in which many mujaddids had come before him. And he clarified that the Messiah and Mahdi spoken of in the Holy Quran were not two people, but they were actually titles for a Muslim mujaddid. And he said that these titles applied to him. He was the Messiah and Mahdi mentioned in the Holy Quran. I beg your pardon, in the Hadith. And this led to a difference of opinion. But the sad thing was that Muslims started saying that Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad and Ahmadis are kafirs and heretics and out of Islam and so on. And Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad drew their attention to the hadith of the Holy Prophet, in which the Holy Prophet had said that if one reciter of the kalima says to another reciter of the kalima that you are a heretic, then it is the person saying it who's the heretic. So he said Muslims should not call each other kafirs and heretics and so on, and learn to accept difference of opinion. And Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad also taught that generally people say the first source of our knowledge and what we should do is hadith. He said no. The first source of knowledge should be the Holy Quran. And next, the Sunnah, or the actions of the Holy Prophet. Because hundreds, thousands of people saw how he performed the wudu and how he led various prayers and what have you. And then come hadith, if it can be established that it's genuine. And you then have ijtihad and ijma and etc. These things. And Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad also pointed out that people say that some prophetic revelation has been missed from the Holy Quran and some is in the Holy Quran, but it's abrogated. So orders are abrogated, cancelled. He said this is not true because God says He revealed the Holy Quran and He takes the responsibility of guarding it. So how can something that is guarded by God have verses which are abrogated and so on? The Holy Quran is complete and it is perfect. It was the teaching of Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib. And he also taught that although Muslims think that jihad means take the sword and cut off people's heads, this is untrue. The Holy Prophet, when returning from fighting, he said Muslims are returning from Jihad-e-Asghar, the minor jihad or the minor struggle, to Jihad-e-Akbar, the major jihad, which he went on to explain was Jihad bin Nafs, the struggle with your own soul, with your own desires and temptations and all that kind of thing. So with that, let us turn to the chapter, to the verse of the Holy Quran that I said we are going to talk about, or the words which we are going to talk about. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقولوا راعنا وقولوا انظرنا واسمعوا وللكافرين عذاب أليم. O you who believe, say not Ra'ina, and say Unzurna, and listen. And as for the and for the disbelievers, there is a painful chastisement. Today we are going to look at the word Ra'ina, and its root is Ra'ain Ya, and we find it in the Holy Quran in 10 times in 6 different forms. Twice as Ra'a and twice as Ra'i and twice as Mar'a and twice as Ra'un, and then that's 8. And then the other 2 are once only. So it means pasture, depending on which form it is, and it means, grazing land. And it also means to observe something. So because it means to pasture, to graze, you get the noun pasture, the place where grazing takes place. And also you have the noun observance or observers, indeed shepherds. These are all its meanings. So traditional dictionaries tell us that ra means to protect animals. But I think this applies to protection of all living things. I mean, as far as humans are concerned, humans are a form of animal. Science tells us that. But as far as living things are concerned, you have humans, or you have the animal kingdom, and then you have plants and crops and flowers and vegetables and so on. They're all living things. So this means that you protect a living thing. It could be by feeding it, and obviously, if you don't feed your cow or your cat or whatever, it will die. But it also means protecting it against other things. Now, the thing is, you see, that we find it very easy to imagine that, we have a cow and, in the jungle next door, there are wolves and things, and we're going to put a fence or a barricade around our pasture land, or build a shed and put cows in there and lock them and so on. But it also applies to protecting other living things, the crops and so on. And who are you protecting the crops from? It could be from human beings. If, for example, effluence is released into the rivers untreated, in the area where I live, in the whole area, I mean, my actual place only has a couple of thousand people, but the whole area has 100,000 people, several 100,000 people. They all flush the toilets and it all goes into the river. And the farmer then uses the water from that river to irrigate his land. It's going to pollute that land and poison the crops and the trees, the fruit trees, the vegetables, and everything. So there is a hint of environmental protection in this as well. That you guard living things, whether it's by feeding them or against other enemies. So Ra'aytuhu means a guardian, etc. Now, if you look at the Quran, we find chapter 20, verse 54, Kulu wara'u an'amakum. Eat yourself and feed your animals. أخرج منها ماءها ومرعاها. And he extracted from it water and feed for animals. So you see, when we're talking about this protection, chapter 20, verse 54 tells human beings to protect themselves with food. And also, the translation is your animals. But I would say, but all other things. Food feeding is included as a part of protecting something. If you don't feed them, they die. And ra'yun and ri'a'un are words which are used for to protect someone, or good administration, that you do something that makes sure that everyone is protected. Chapter 57, verse 27 tells us, فَمَا رَعَوْهَا حَقَّ رِعَايَتِهَا. But they did not protect, they did not safeguard as they should have done. And then the person who is responsible for others, he's also called Ra'ayun. There's a hadith which says that from among you, everyone is a Ra'i. And they'll be questioned about their Rayyat. And people translate that in terms of the family, and they say, well, everyone is a ruler, and you're a ruler. Husband is a ruler. No. I would suggest it means that the husband is a provider, safeguarder, who makes sure that his family is protected. This is what we started with. And you protect them by feeding them, you protect them by teaching them to do the right thing, and in thousands of other ways. But Muslims, for some reason, always insist on this sort of dictatorial meaning of everything. And of course, then we have this one, the verse we talked about, and that is that don't use the word ra'ina, but say unzurna. And the reason for that is that if you remember, the Holy Prophet was in Medina, and Medina, the population there consisted of Muslims and non-Muslims of various religions. And there were also Jews there. And they had a habit of poking fun at the Holy Prophet Muhammad. And one way in which they did that was that they would twist the words. For example, When Muslims meet each other, we say, Assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you. And Jews, when they would meet, especially the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they would say, Assam alaikum. And that is, death be unto you. To show their disdain, to show their hatred, etc. for the Holy Prophet Muhammad. And among the words that they would twist, because what they used to say was they used to twist it, the way they used to say it was like it was two human beings, two equal human beings doing a deal. And it would mean that, if you do us a favor, we'll do you a favor. Otherwise, no. But of course, the Holy Prophet Muhammad was a prophet of Allah. You can't bargain with him in this way. And they used to adopt this attitude. Why? To show that they were equal to him. He was nothing better than them if he does them a favor. But they used to, so that if anyone objected, they would say, no, all we were saying was this. We weren't being rude or insulting or anything like that. So Muslims were advised to avoid using words which others could use, which others could twist to insult the Holy Prophet. So it says, say, unzurna. Because, as I said, the point is that the Holy Prophet has brought guidance from God. So that means when he says do this, you do. You can't say to him, if you do this is not political haggling. I'll vote for you. And, if you become the prime minister, you make me the home secretary or the foreign secretary or whatever. This is, a prophet of God telling you God's commands. So by saying, we are bargaining with you, what you're doing is you're lowering his status. You are lowering his status and showing that he is no better. And we can deal with him, treat him with, as much respect or disrespect as we want. And of course, this would annoy Muslims and, they would come to blows, etc., etc. So what the Holy Quran did was, what Allah did was, to say to Muslims, don't use those words, which others can use to poke fun at you. With that, I take my leave of you with the request that, things in Pakistan are in a bad state and that you pray for all the people of Pakistan, regardless of their religion or color or creed or caste or sect or whatever. Because what will happen is floodwaters will recede and people will forget. But remember, at least half of the crops which were going to be used to feed the country next year and in the coming months has been destroyed. So please pray to Allah to help people of Pakistan. With that, I take my leave of you. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, and goodbye.